Welcome to the Pleasure Program. My name is Holly.
I'm Victoria.
We're two licensed therapists who specialize in sex therapy. We are going to react to a Reddit post about someone's sex life.
I have the Reddit post that you do not know, and I'll read it. Let's get into it. So the title is Unprompted. My 25-year-old female girlfriend, I'm 29-year-old male, said her ex had a huge penis. How to navigate. So I know this subject has been beat to death on here, but these circumstances are a little different. Basically, my girlfriend has bipolar 1, and during a particularly rough manic episode, she revealed, totally unprompted, her ex had a monster cock. Look, I'm smart enough to never ask a partner about her ex's dick size, but this came at a time when she had no filter. This was in between rants about hearing the vibrations of the universe and wrapping herself in electrical wire to ground herself. So it wasn't like a targeted statement or even a, oh, I thought you weren't listening.
Wow.
It was bad enough hearing that, but then she proceeded to go into excruciating detail about how large it was and what it was like to have sex with it. And none of it was like, oh, it was so big, it hurt, yada, yada, yours fits me so much better. I think one of the worst parts is I know she didn't mean to hurt me. She genuinely couldn't understand why I was like, can we change topics? To her, in her mania, it was as casual as noticing a funny cloud or what to order at a food truck. If she was lucid, she never would have said anything like this, and she has no memory of this incident. But I do. It's basically impossible to unhear. When she switched to meds that actually worked, we talked about it, and she expressed lots of remorse, but also didn't deny it. So now I know her ex has a huge dick, and she still thinks about it. Here's another hard part. This guy is still a big part of her life. She's one of his best friends, and he still calls her regularly to catch up and talk about his life. I'm all for having human relationships with past partners. I mean, I do the same thing. And whenever he does this, she makes sure I can hear her talking and never tries to hide communication with him out of respect to me, so I can hear the topics of conversation. But unfortunately, while she swears they're just friends, to me, I'm always going to look at him as the guy with the monster dong who still calls up my girlfriend. I do my best, but whenever he comes up, I get a little quieter and withdrawn, and that makes her feel guilty. The other day, she tried to make me feel better, and she said, despite his huge dick, he's also a lovely person,
Oh my
and
gosh.
legitimately thought that would help. She doesn't understand social cues very well. She has huge difficulty climaxing. It takes about an hour of toys and foreplay to get anywhere close, and I've never been able to make her finish without a vibrator or a huge dildo. My confidence was already shaky, but after hearing about the monster cock in her past, yeah, I'm not doing so hot. Additional data. I'm not worried about her cheating with this guy, so don't even bring it up. I trust her completely. We've both seen each other through sickness and health. She's assured me I have the perfect dick size. I know I should take this at face value, but knowing what I know, ouch. We live together. I'm not going to break up with her over this. Please don't talk about how guys are so insecure and my ego is fragile. Blah, blah, blah. I already know this.
Oh.
So, Reddit, help. How can we have a meaningful conversation and work through this?
Wow. Wow, wow.
There's a lot here to unpack.
Okay. First and foremost, I'm glad she's on better meds, right? To manage the
Yeah.
bipolar.
Yeah,
Bipolar
let's talk
disorder.
about bipolar 1 real quick.
Yeah.
Bipolar 1 is a mood disorder with that has mania attached to it. So mania is a period of abnormally and persistently elevated, expansive, irritable mood, and abnormally or persistently increased goal-directed activity or energy lasting at least a whole week, present for most of the day, nearly every day. Um, and there needs to be additional 3 to 4 symptoms with that, like inflated self-esteem, like almost having like a god complex, a decrease for need for sleep, like barely sleeping at all, being more talkative or feeling pressure to keep talking or having racing thoughts and like flights of ideas, very distractible. Sometimes delusions, right? Like, unfortunately, or hallucinations, meaning you're having these abnormal beliefs or you're seeing or hearing abnormal things that aren't there. And so, unfortunately, he was disclosing some of that. That's part of her bipolar one. So, this is a really tough disorder to deal with and does require medication management. So I agree with you. I'm really glad that she got on the correct dosage of medication.
Yeah, and like this kind of saying unfiltered comments. I can remember when I was very young and green and I did in-home counseling, my first
Mm-hmm.
experience with a client who was having a manic episode, and I didn't know what was happening as
Mm-hmm.
it was starting to happen. She had been depressed for a very long time and actually tried a new medication that pushed her into a manic episode. I'll never forget it. She said, "Have you ever seen the movie My Big Fat Greek Wedding?" Which I hadn't, and I still haven't to this day. She goes, "Well, they're describing the groom in that as like bland, plain, like a piece of toast."
Mm-hmm.
And she said, like you, you're like that to me. Nothing but a piece of toast."
Bland piece of toast.
I was like,
Oh.
oh. She was suddenly very irritable, very moody, and I could do nothing right. And she was having some delusional thoughts. She thought her deceased mother was living in an Afghan that was hanging on the wall. So, yeah, it's a very serious
Yeah.
mental illness that does require medication, and they can say things that and seemingly not have any awareness how that would impact you. So I could see how this would happen in a manic episode with
Yeah.
this couple.
Yes.
So, but he cannot unhear what has been heard.
Right. So the big issue here for him is confidence, right? He's saying that he knows that her ex had a huge dick and she thinks about it.
Do we know
Okay,
that? She
exactly.
brought it up. I
Maybe
mean,
she thinks about it when she's
when she's
manic.
manic.
She was manic. She also said a lot of other things that I'm sure she doesn't think about on a daily basis, right? But so we don't know that for sure, right? Saying something in a manic episode doesn't mean that's something that you actually think about regularly. There's a reason why we have videos on why penis size does not matter.
Does not matter to the extent or the degree that our culture just really has us led to believe. We put way too much emphasis on penis size. So, yeah, definitely give that video a watch because we
Yeah.
really break that down.
There's a reason that she's not with this guy with the monster cock and that she's with her boyfriend, right? Like there's a reason
Yes.
that they broke up, even though he's a lovely person, and that she's with him and that she's like clearly happy with him. They're working through things together. He's committed. Sounds like she's committed, right? There's reasons for that. And those are the reasons that we need to look into and not thinking as or putting it as much weight to what she said when she was like delusional.
Yeah, like actively having you can have a psychotic episode when you are manic as well. People
Yeah.
don't maybe aren't aware that you can have psychosis symptoms. Not to say she's making it all up and it's not true because once,
No,
she
yeah.
didn't deny it. I think that maybe they just need a repair to happen here.
I think that he's needing a lot of like verbal affirmations when we think about like love languages. Like he's feeling insecure because of all these disclosures. He's needing like additional affirmation, I think, with the repair, right? Like he's concerned about her climaxing, right? That's causing additional
Stress.
insecurity,
Yeah.
right? Especially because he has to use a large dildo, and this ex had a large penis, so that's creating insecurity. But I hope that he's not comparing, right? Because we have no idea if she was medicated when she was with this ex or anything like that. So if she didn't have a hard time climaxing with him, it's okay that she's having a hard time climaxing with her boyfriend because medications often are a barrier. They can make achieving climax more difficult.
Yeah.
Um,
It's a common side
and
effect for
yeah,
a lot of the psychiatric medications.
Yeah, so it's really normal. So he's not doing anything wrong. I love that he's putting in the time and effort into her pleasure, right? Like an hour long foreplay and using toys. You're doing fantastic, right? Like you don't need to have the largest penis to pleasure a woman. You're taking the time and energy and effort and learning what feels good for her, and you're willing to use some supports. Like that's amazing.
Verbal affirmation from his girlfriend would be helpful here. Maybe her telling him what she really does find so arousing and attractive about him, what she really enjoys that he does when they have
Yes.
sex, and I think that would help. I think he also needs to offer himself reassurance internally. It's really hard to
Yeah.
do when you feel insecure. He can educate himself. I really think it's empowering when you have knowledge, really
Yeah.
understanding the anatomy of a vulva and a vagina and the clitoris, and understanding what really does provide the maximum amount of stimulation and pleasure, and using that information to reassure himself, I don't need to have a monster penis. Oh no, why are you in the dark? As I was saying, you don't need to have a monster penis to provide pleasure. When we did our penis size video, it was a hot topic. I mean, people had a lot to say, and a lot of people said we were lying. We were flat out lying, that it does matter. We don't care what you say. Which it's a shame. It's a shame that people can't open their minds to this is literal anatomy we are talking about, and how a cultural belief has it wrong. So, if clitoral stimulation is the primary source of pleasure for most women, then that is what the focus should be on. And,
Yeah,
among
absolutely.
other things, like what are you saying during sex? What is your touch like? Are you playful? Are you romantic?
Yeah.
And there's so much that goes into what makes a sexual experience great. And that has little to do with penis size. And if we ignored the clitoris altogether and only focused on penetration, having a large penis is more likely to stimulate the clitoris through the vaginal wall and perhaps some other areas of the vagina that can provide some additional stimulation, but that's not the primary source of pleasure. So you're still missing it. You could be an amazing lover and have a small penis,
Yeah.
a smaller than average penis, and be great in bed because you're focusing on the erogenous zones that really do maximize pleasure. So please
Absolutely.
listen to what we are saying, and just being able to reorient your thoughts around that can offer this man can offer himself some reassurance. But I don't need that. That guy has a monster penis, good for him. She wants to bring it up and talk about it. Why are we all so focused on that?
Yeah.
That is not what is required for me to have great sex with my partner. So providing himself that reassurance through
Yeah.
that knowledge and that education. All right, I'm off my soapbox.
It's an important soapbox. And I think the only last thing I have to say about this is like, were there any barriers to proper medication management, right? Like, was she on medication before and then something happened and she got off of it and this is what caused the manic reaction? Because like his pain is valid. Like her intention was not to hurt him, but he was hurt, and mania isn't an excuse for that. It's an explanation for that. And so maybe we can figure out if there are any barriers to that medication management to try to prevent that in the future.
Agreed. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. Consider subscribing to our channel. We would love to have you join our community. We do a lot of videos like this regularly where we react to Reddit posts and we give our insight and experience as sex therapists.